Hello, everybody. Welcome again to another edition of Badger Blitz TV. I'm Jay Kokorowski, senior writer at BadgerBlitz.com, yourrivals.com destination for all things Wisconsin athletics from the recruiting trail. Inside Camp Randall Stadium, of course, on the court of the Kohl Center. Folks, this is our double dose of recruiting Q&A, chat, discussion, all that good stuff with our good friend Clint Cosgrove from Rivals.com. And thank you all for tuning in with that. This is the second dose of this week. And Clint, you're not sick of me yet, which I'm surprised, so I appreciate you, my friend. How are you doing?
I could never get sick of you. We have a great time with this. I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm fired up. More football. Can never get enough football. Can never get enough recruiting. It's a hectic time. These camps make things a little crazy. Everybody's trying to get in them. We can only have so many people. So, and this is also a time of a lot of commitments as well. So you got to stay on top of that. So no, but everything's good, and I'm excited to talk with you again.
Awesome, man. So yeah, for those that don't know, and we're going to lay this out for people too, I tell this everyone every couple of weeks. Put up in the BadgerBlitz.com forum. Another great way to subscribe. Why? Because, of course, John McNamara, Ben Wargle, and myself have a combined 40 years of experience covering some variation of Wisconsin athletics. And so within that, I put up in our Badgers Den forum for subscribers only the opportunity for y'all to submit questions to Clint about various recruiting topics. And let's kick it off for today. Let's talk some running backs. And someone had mentioned on our forum talking about J.T. Smith, the running back out of North Carolina, but I'm going to kind of branch this out even further. Who would you consider atop Wisconsin's running back board at the moment? And would you expect Al Johnson, the new running backs coach, who you know, of course, to make a slew of new offers at running back? And with that, I'll preface this as a disclaimer because you know this already, but for those that don't know, Wisconsin has offered Jeremiah Love, Nate White, and just recently Jaquez Keys.
Yeah, so a lot of that is speculation for me, just because I don't know what they're looking to take numbers wise in the class. A lot of it could change after spring ball. When you have transfers, obviously when you got a big time running back and people want carries, sometimes people choose to go elsewhere, so you can get transfers with that. You get injuries. Some guys don't pan out. Other guys pan out better than you thought they would. So a lot of it's speculation on how many backs that they will take, want to take. And sometimes you have an idea that, hey, we're going to take 2 backs in this class. But if you don't get 2 that you are very excited about, maybe you go with an athlete type that could be a running back or something else if you didn't pan out there. So a lot of speculation on my end when it comes to this. But when they look at who should be at the top of the board, you talk about the kid from North Carolina, and we've discussed him in the past. Heck of a player. I think he'd be a good get. When you look at who should be at the top of the board, in my opinion, it'd be Jeremiah Love all day. Jeremiah, now it's an uphill battle for a kid like him, but he's also not into all this hype of the recruiting. He's not into the social media. He just wants to play football and run track. He ran supposedly electronic, sub 4.3 at a camp recently. He'll be at our camp at the Indy Rivals camp, and we will not be testing there, but his speed will probably be evident. And he's a special player. He can go anywhere from Alabama to USC, and but he's a Midwest kid as well. He goes to CBC High School, and I don't think Wisconsin's out of it with him. So to me, he would be the number one guy on the board. When you look at guys, when you're trying to protect your in-state players, and you got Nate White with an offer, I feel like you have to take him because he's good enough. And you want to keep those in-state players home. You don't want to be playing against them. The last thing you want to have happen is a kid like Nate White, go to Michigan State or go to Iowa or something like that, and end up being a big-time player. And he has a great skill set, and he has the pride of growing up in Wisconsin. And when you grow up in Wisconsin and you want to be a Badger, you're going to give it your all to become the best Badger you can be. So, you take kids like that. Now, there's a couple others, if those didn't work out, there's a kid Dylan Edwards, he's in Kansas. Now he's a smaller guy. So he's more of that Anthony Davis type for you guys who remember him back in the day.
Good old
Scat
AD.
back,
Yep.
good old AD. Love Anthony, great guy. But he, he's dynamic with the ball in his hands. He's going to make you miss in space. He's got a burst and all that. So he'd be a good change up to what they currently have. Uh, there's Joshua Robinson, who's an intriguing kid. He's in Illinois, and he's a bigger back. He's probably like 6'1", 210. Runs hard, has pretty good speed, but he'd be a good in between the tackles guy. He's got enough speed to break off some big plays. He's a powerful runner, kid that I really like, probably a little under recruited, and he's got a chance to be very good. And he's not far from Madison. Nolan Ray is a kid up at Brother Rice in Michigan. I'll be seeing him. I saw him recently at a camp. He'd be another option. You talk about the recent offer of Jaquez Keys. That kid, I haven't seen him in person, but you look at pictures of him and he looks like a man already. I mean, he is built, and when you turn on the film, that kid can play. Now, I like him more on what I've seen on his defensive film because he is physical as all get out. He plays like his hair's on fire. He's got a motor, but you see him do big things on offense as well. When you talk about maybe that athlete take, if you don't get the exact running back that you want, he's a guy that could play either way. I think that he would be a great take. And then you got a kid named John Randall out of Kansas. Another Midwest guy. I believe his dad played at Kansas State and was a standout player there as well. So there are some kids that if they did want to put a slew of offers out and land some guys, there are some available players. You've obviously got some great targets already, and there's some other guys that they could consider. So it really comes down to, what they feel they need after spring ball. Like I said, injuries, transfers, grad transfers in, grad transfers out, whatever it may be. Obviously the running back position is part of Wisconsin football. It's in good shape right now. And you can never have enough of those guys when you're pounding the rock the way that Wisconsin does. So, but there are options. It's a little different than the quarterback position where they get identified so early and they come off the board so early because you're only taking one of them, and people are trying to get them off the board as soon as possible. But I think they should end up pretty good. No matter what happens at the running back position, there are options out there. Like I said, you've got your top guys, Jeremiah Love. Nate White, an in-state guy who they should be able to land if they put that full court press on him. You never know what's going on in his head with recruitment and all that. So, there are no guarantees, but, I would feel very comfortable of where they're at. And, if they need to put out more offers to get to where they need to be, it shouldn't be an issue. There are some quality players that are still around. So that's my take on that.
Excellent. Last question for you before we let you go, Clint, in this recruiting Q&A. Looking at the state of Minnesota, and this is actually a question not from our subscribers. This came from one of our YouTube comments because people are starting to comment on our YouTube page. So please continue those on our videos because we love the branching out there. But someone asked about the chances of landing a Minnesota kid, and they left it at that. They didn't necessarily say which class, but let's assume 2023, 2024, because they have, especially, I'll take, for example, the 2021 class, where they landed Riley Mallman, a 4-star offensive lineman, who now is like the second team left tackle during spring practices. And they also have Jake Ratzlaff, the former, the 2020 Mr. Minnesota. And right now he's competing and taking jumps at inside linebacker during spring practices as we speak. So, but what are the chances do you feel of Wisconsin landing someone from Minnesota in the next two classes where, judging off one, there's maybe one offer to one kid out of the Gopher State?
Yeah, I mean, Wisconsin's had success, recruiting Minnesota. When I was on staff at Minnesota, one of the things we hated most was losing a kid to Wisconsin, and it happened. What was it? Bo, the defensive lineman.
Bo Allen, yep.
Bo Allen. I believe he went on to play for the Eagles. He was a heck of a player at Wisconsin. So Wisconsin's had success in Minnesota. And, I wouldn't be surprised if they targeted and were able to land a kid from Minnesota. The one this year who would be the no-brainer is Jackson Howard. His dad is a former NFL player. He's the head coach at Jackson's high school, and Jackson is a national recruit who can go pretty much anywhere. The thing with them is they were getting close to a decision, I think, and then very, very analytical, intelligent family, and they want to be at a place with stability. And there was a lot of coaching changes, so he kind of opened his recruitment back up. I'm not really sure where he stands. If Wisconsin could land him, that would be a big one. That would be a big one. Because not only is football intelligence, the kid understands the game. He's a leader. First one in, last one out. Obviously comes from a great lineage of football. He's a great tight end, but he could also play defensive end. He's a special player. So if you could get Jackson, I mean, that would be the number one guy in Minnesota right now that you would want to get. There's a couple kids that they haven't offered that I think could be candidates as well. There's a kid named Martin. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Owusu. He's from Prior Lake. I believe he has visited Wisconsin. He would be a kid that I would give a close look. He's got a bunch of offers. There's another D lineman, Alinius Davis, who would have a chance. And then there's a kid at Holy Angels named Chuck Gilbert, who hasn't really seen his recruitment take off, but I watched him recently, and he's a big receiver. He's in that 6'2". I don't know what he weighs, if he's 180, 190, but, he's got a nice skill set. And I believe his biggest offer might be Iowa State, and then he might even have a MAC or an FCS besides that. So those would be the other guys that could be potential targets. Like I said, I don't think Wisconsin has offered any of them right now. I haven't done a deep dive into the 2024 class, but if you're talking you want a Minnesota kid right now and you can only take one, that's going to be Jackson Howard all day. And like I said, he's a special player. He can go anywhere. I believe Wisconsin's in the running. I'm not 100% sure. Like I said, they're looking for a program with stability. Wisconsin is a program with stability. They have shown it over the years, and even when there has been some coaching changes, there's still continuity because it's Wisconsin people taking over and staying. And like I said, do I know if they'll offer or land a kid from Minnesota? That's all speculation.
Right.
And a lot of it depends on who they decide to offer. Could it happen? Yes. If it's Jackson Howard, do we do jumping jacks if I'm a Wisconsin fan? Yes. We'll see how that plays out. But it's never out of the question. Minnesota kids, even though, they've done a great job recruiting at Minnesota, and they're building a program, and they've become more competitive with Wisconsin over the years, and they've kept some in-state kids at home. Like the state of Illinois, a lot of the time it's been up for grabs, and some of those top players are willing to go elsewhere. And at the end of the day, you want Jackson Howard, you get him, you're happy. That's your Minnesota kid. And, like I said, you do jumping jacks. But there are a couple other kids in the 2023 class who I think will get a look. But as far as will they land a Minnesota kid, that's all speculation, and I don't know. And it'll really depend on, I think, on their recruiting board and how that turns out and what positional needs are. But there are a couple guys that have a chance, and I think it'll come down: do they offer, pursue, and do they go to really go after them? And so. I wish I could give a better answer. All I know is if I'm Wisconsin, I want Jackson Howard, and if I get him, I'm very happy.
Clint, man, we always appreciate you, my friend. Looking forward to seeing more coverage coming up next week. We already talked about it in part one that just dropped on our YouTube channel a little bit ago. We're having this, we record on a Wednesday, just giving people a peek behind the curtain, if you will. And we know that you have tons of stuff coming up from Indianapolis with the camp coming up, man. We appreciate you as always. Try to rest up before the big weekend ahead and going forward with all the content you'll have on Rivals.com.
Yeah, can't wait. Thank you so much for having me on. This is always a highlight of my week. Love talking with you. Love talking Badger football, something that I feel connected to and know a lot about. And so not as much as I used to, but the group text with all my friends, they keep me up to date on all the Wisconsin stuff. So It's always a pleasure talking with you and talking about the Badgers. I really appreciate it.
Man, we appreciate you, folks. That's Clint Cosgrove. I'm Jake Kokorowski, y'all. Real quick, make sure subscribe, like this channel. It's free, right? Along with our podcast. That stuff's free. If you want to pay some money for Rivals.com, BadgerBlitz.com, that's where you can find so much more from Clint, from John McNamara, our recruiting analyst and editor for BadgerBlitz.com, and so much more. So you all take care. Have a great week going forward. We'll talk to you next week with another edition, wrap up April, with a lot of more recruiting talk, probably some spring ball talk, more interviews you'll see on BadgerBlitz.com's YouTube channel. I'm Jake Kokorowski. Have a great week. We'll talk to you soon.